In this video, I'm going to tell you why you should eat carbs and how to eat carbs without gaining weight. If you want to control what you eat, control your body, and control your life, then hit the subscribe button so you never miss a video. I think carbs get a bad rap because we think that they make you fat and that it's really easy to overeat them. The big diet these days is paleo and keto and everything that's low carb, high fat. Fat is good these days, carbs are bad. Carbs have been demonized. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why you should eat carbs and how to eat them without gaining a lot of weight. The first reason why you should eat carbs is because the whole world eats them. If you travel at all, you know that carbs are one of the universal constants, like games and sex and entertainment, and marriage and pets. It's just one of those things everybody likes to eat, and I think there's a reason why. It's because they provide so much nutrition and they're so versatile. You go to Mexico, they eat tortillas. You go to Peru, they eat sweet potatoes, and Bolivia is quinoa. The Middle East, it's tabbouleh. I don't know what that is actually. It's some sort of grain. Wheat. Asia, it's all rice. And then in Africa, you have teff. Carbs are everywhere. I think we're just designed to eat them by nature. Even the hunter-gatherers are eating fruits off the trees or digging for sweet potatoes. Yes, they eat some meat once in a while, but animals are hard to find because animals don't want to die and they don't want to be hunted. So I think high-carb diets are kind of the natural for most humans. Yes, somebody in the comments is going to put, what about the Inuit? Well, I don't care about the Inuit. Because the Inuit haven't had a huge impact on history. I've explained before that carbs are essential to civilization, and that without carbohydrates there would be no civilization. Civilization needs carbohydrates. We don't need to run randomized controlled trials to figure out that humans really like carbs. We have enzymes in our mouth and in our digestive tract to help break them down. We naturally absorb them. And a lot of humans, not just vegans, do very well on high carb diets. It's just observational data. We don't have to get into the weeds of nutrition science, and we don't have to run laboratory tests to figure out that humans are designed to eat carbs. If humans weren't designed to eat carbs, then why do we have the necessary infrastructure to digest them? And why do we do so well when we eat them? And how is it that we've grown to 9 billion people eating carbohydrates? We didn't get to this place eating keto. The other reason why you should eat carbs is because they're so versatile. They go with everything. We're in the Christmas season, and think about everything that you're going to eat over the holidays. You're going to have stuffing and mashed potatoes and mac and cheese, not to mention the vegetable dishes. What else? All the desserts. I mean, you don't need those, of course, but they taste great. How can you make a dessert without carbohydrates? I mean, come on. But I think there's a reason why most comfort foods have carbohydrates. Is because we like carbohydrates. They make us feel good. They elicit positive neurotransmitters in our head like GABA and serotonin. They make us feel good. I'm not saying you should eat just to feel good, because that could have negative consequences in the future. You shouldn't sell today. You shouldn't sell the future for today. That's not a good bet. That's kind of what addiction is. But most people aren't addicted to carbs. And come on, how many times do we have stuffing and mashed potatoes each year? Once, twice, maybe 3 times. Most comfort foods have carbohydrates because they make us feel good, and I think there's just this natural comfort when we eat carbohydrates. We need them, we like them, we're designed for them, so why not eat them? I'm not saying you should have 4 or 5 scoops of stuffing. That would be really bad, but I don't think having a little bit of stuffing and mashed potatoes is going to be bad for you. And now, apart from Christmas and Thanksgiving, having a bowl of cereal or some oats in the morning is actually a really good way to start the day. If you eat breakfast, if you're doing intermittent fasting, maybe you don't do that, doesn't really matter. But I know that a lot of strength athletes and a lot of fit people who eat oats for breakfast. Oats are one of the best foods. I remember that book I read back in 2006 or 7, Superfoods. Oats were one of the foods on that list because they have so many good vitamins and minerals, and they lower cholesterol, at least the bad kind. And they're really filling too. Or you go down to Peru, where they have 200 different types of potatoes, and the whole civilization sustained itself on potatoes and starches. What about the Maya in ancient Mexico? And they had corn. You know, they had gods for corn. I mean, if these things were really that unhealthy, why did they have a god for it? The next reason why you should eat carbohydrates is because they have so much energy. It's hard to sustain yourself without them. I know one of the big problems with Atkins and keto and all the low carb diets is lack of energy. It's one of the biggest complaints about it, because you don't have anything that's that's easy to digest and break down to give you that immediate boost in energy. It's hard to sustain yourself on beef jerky and eggs and sausage. I mean, yes, it will satisfy you, but it's not going to give you that jolt of energy. There's a reason why endurance athletes all eat carbohydrates, high carb diets, 60, 65, sometimes even 70%. It's because they need the energy, and you can only get that through carbohydrates. You can only eat so much protein in a day, maybe 100, 120 grams a day. Depends on your side. Protein's expensive too. But are you going to eat a bunch of avocados and eggs to get your energy? Are you going to drink olive oil? I mean, you can try that. I don't think it would work too well. I've read that Kenyan marathon runners, or maybe it was Ethiopia, they eat 70% carbohydrates. They eat a ton of teff, and I think there's some other, maybe it's barley, I forget the other grain that they eat. Cyclists eat 65% carbohydrates. Now, I know a lot of us aren't endurance athletes, and if you're sitting at a desk all day, then you probably don't need, 1,000 carbs a day, but that's not my point. The fact remains, carbs are the gold standard for energy. That's why carbs should be at the bottom of your pyramid, and then have some animal protein and fat, and then have some fruits and vegetables to round out the diet. Watch my video on what an ideal diet is. That's why I put carbs at the bottom. Now, I do want to distinguish between good carbs and bad carbs. You've heard that before. Bad carbs are stuff like, I don't know, Fruity Pebbles. If you're over the age of 10, you probably shouldn't be eating Fruity Pebbles, unless you just want to be a kid again, watch Saturday morning cartoons or something and be kind of stupid and silly. I mean, I can see the need. You also shouldn't be drinking a lot of soda. Also, I don't recommend juice a lot unless you're on the go and it's really hard to eat fruit. And in that case, juice can be an okay substitute for that. You should also avoid a lot of the really processed starches. A lot of processed foods have that. A lot of desserts have the processed carbs. Those aren't the good carbs. I'm talking about oats, sweet potatoes, barley, quinoa, amaranth if you want to get really exotic, wild rice, brown rice. I even think white rice is good as long as you couple it with vegetables and a protein. That's what you see in Asia so much. They have a big lump of white rice and then they have some sort of animal protein and some fat with it. It's not like you're just going to sit there and eat white rice. Regarding the glycemic index or the glycemic load, I don't really put a lot of stock into that, because what they're doing is they're taking individual foods and they're measuring how much 100 grams, or is it 100 calories, I think, raises your blood sugar. But thing is, nobody's just going to sit there and eat 100 calories of white rice. You're going to eat white rice with vegetables and fish, or vegetables and some sort of protein, or vegetables and sort of like a grilled meat or something. Nobody just sits there and eats white rice. Nobody sits there and just eats oatmeal. I mean, you're going to combine that with blueberries and nuts, or you're going to have like quinoa with beans or chicken. I mean, people eat complete meals. People don't just sit there and eat one different type of food. That's my problem with the glycemic index. And also it changes per person. So if I eat 100 calories of white rice, it's not going to elicit the same amount of insulin as somebody who's smaller and more petite than I am. Everybody's different. This is where I think nutrition science goes too far. People start making decisions based on some index that somebody made up. Who cares? Just eat a complete meal. Starch at the bottom, animal fat and protein, and some fruits and vegetables. You can't go wrong. The other thing about carbohydrates is they're so convenient. I do a lot of home visits. I don't have a refrigerator, I don't have a microwave, I don't have a stove. Sometimes the car is like 150 degrees in the summertime, sometimes it's freezing in the winter. I need something that can last in various temperatures, and I don't have to chill and I don't have to heat up. That's why carbs are just so good, and it's so hard to live without them. And that's why I like to subsist on bread and Cliff Bars while I'm in the car, because they're good whether they're cold, whether they're hot. They're not going to melt. I don't need to heat it up. Yes, I know I shouldn't be relying a lot on convenience food, but sometimes you just have to make trade-offs, and we're not always going to be in a kitchen where we have a microwave and we can sit down next to a candle and enjoy a good meal. I would love to do that more often, but we live in a real world. It's a very demanding world, and we're going from here to there, and you've just got to make the best decision that you can. And a lot of times, carbohydrates are the best decision in that case. What else are you going to eat? You're going to eat almonds all day? You're going to eat beef jerky all day? You're going to have a bag of avocados with you all day? I mean, this is the problem with high fat, high protein foods, is that they're not very convenient, and they're not really good when they're not prepared. Another reason why you should eat carbohydrates is because they're essential for hormone production. One of my big complaints about the keto diet is that it's not good for testosterone production. There was one point in my life where I had very low testosterone. It was like 53 nanograms per deciliter, which is super low. It should be at least 250 up to 800. I had no libido, no sex drive. It didn't really feel like a male. It was hard to build muscle mass. I didn't recover very well. It sucks being a male without a lot of testosterone. It's almost like you're not a male in a way. You need carbs for testosterone production, and ladies, you need it for estrogen too. There's other hormones, I don't want to get too much into that, but basically you need carbs just to maintain homeostasis. You need carbs to be sane. I don't know how these people go eat 20 or 30 carbs a day and remain sane and healthy. I mean, it's kind of remarkable how adaptable the body is, but it's like, why do that when you don't need to cut carbs to lose weight? It's way easier to lose weight with carbs than without them. I think the problem a lot of people have is that they overeat carbs because they're cheap and convenient and they're tasty a lot of times. So it's like the cookies and the chips and the pies and the cakes, and they say, oh, it's the carbs that are a problem, so I'm going to cut out the carbs and I'm just going to eat, sausage and eggs and bacon and cheese, and that's all I'm going to eat. Well, it's really hard to do that. I mean, what are you going to do on the go? What are you going to do at restaurants? What are you going to do at parties? What are you going to do at social events? I think almost everybody needs at least 100 grams of carbs a day. 100 grams isn't a lot either. One bowl of cereal is like 30 to 60, and one piece of bread is, maybe 20. So you're only talking about 4 pieces of bread all day. Personally, I eat about 400 carbs a day. That's quite a lot. But it makes me feel good and I have energy, and I know when I'm low on carbs, my workout performance improves. I can lift more, I can run faster. I just have more pep, I just have more energy. The carbs motivate me to move, and that's probably true for a lot of other people. That's why people on keto diets feel really sluggish. If you're a male, think twice about keto and cutting out your carbs, because it's really hard to gain muscle mass on keto. They've done studies on this. Men who do keto have a hard time putting on muscle. One thing you might want to do is eat carbohydrates in your peri-workout window. So eat them before, maybe even during and after your workout. It's kind of the best of both worlds, but still, you probably need at least 100 grams of carbs a day. Carbs are also good for regulating appetite. There are other foods that are good for appetite regulation too, but one of the best, I think, is the potato. The potatoes are just so filling, they're so cheap, they're so good. One of my favorite meals in grad school was to cube a sweet potato, steam it, and then just eat the sweet potato. I felt so good, I felt so warm, I felt so satisfied just eating a boiled sweet potato. It's like the best thing ever, especially after fasting for a day or two. It's like, wow, boiled sweet potato, this is the best thing. It's amazing how your preferences change after fasting. But I never wanted to break a fast with something that was high in fat and high in protein. It was like, that's not what I'm craving right now. I need some carbs. If you consume a lot of whole grains, you're going to feel a lot less hungry. It's going to regulate your appetite. Throw in some stuff like some nuts, which are also good for regulating appetite, and you're probably going to overeat less. Finally, carbohydrates have important nutrients like a lot of B vitamins. One of my biggest complaints about paleo is that people who do that are really low in some B vitamins and magnesium. You can't get everything with just 1 or 2 food groups. That's why I don't think you should cut out any food groups. You need to subsist on everything. You need to have the dairy. You need to have the fruits and vegetables. You need to have the beans and nuts. Now, obviously, if you're allergic or if you just don't like certain foods, you shouldn't include it. But the more foods you include, the more nutrients you're going to get. Carbohydrates come with their own nutrients that are hard to find in animal protein. And vice versa. There are some things in animal protein that are hard to find in carbs. That's why you should include both. Appetite regulation, hormone regulation, your sanity, satiation, versatility, ubiquity. These are all reasons why you should eat carbohydrates. What are some other reasons you should eat carbs? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.